Thank you, Ms. Asada Miyakawa, for your inspiring opening statement. It is now my pleasure to invite Ms. Shiella Estrada, chairperson, Progressive Labor Union of Domestic Workers of the Philippines, Hong Kong, China, to deliver her opening remarks via Kudo. We are hoping to have a good connection here. Bear with us if it is not immediate.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates and guests of the GCM review. My name is Shiella Estrada. Being a migrant domestic worker for 36 years and a worker leader, I handle cases, do advocacy, and organize my fellow workers into trade unions. I experience what it means when migrant workers are organized and have a voice. Distinguished delegates, the GCM should place migrants in the center. Without being organized and a voice of migrants, you won't know the real problems and truth. You all can shed lights on migration if you listen to us as migrants. Hard work and collaboration are needed to ensure policies and laws are in place to protect the rights of migrants and humanity. We bring developments to the countries and economic benefits, but don't place us in the dark. When we speak of migrants here, we speak of them regardless of their status. They should not be abused, and their rights should not be stripped off due to their visa or status. Their freedom should not be tied with their employers or visas. They should have the freedom to escape from the exploitative situation and change employers, rights to family unity, and residence status if we want. When we speak of migrants in the Asia-Pacific, we speak of women migrants, especially domestic workers. The Asia-Pacific hosts almost a quarter of the world's women migrant domestic workers. 24% of adults in forced labor are domestic workers. We have heard non-stop migrant domestic workers abused to death. There should be no more delays to revise our labor laws to recognize domestic workers, agricultural, and all kinds of workers. Please stop all forms of discriminations and ensure migrants be free from gender-based violence. The COVID-19 pandemic has revealed the vulnerability of migrants. Due to the government responses to the pandemic, such as border closures, lockdowns, curfews, migrants are faced with terminations. They are left with no jobs and food, no health and PPE protection, but lockdowns at employers' home, their congested boarding house, or even abandoned on the streets. Raids against migrants further put them into the dark. Stigmatization and racial discrimination are rampant, which risk migrants' health and even lives. We urge government to integrate migrant health in their COVID-19 response. All migrants, regardless of status, must have access to quality public services and social protection. The COVID pandemic has exacerbated wage theft against migrant workers. Government should exhaust all efforts to expedite justice for affected migrant workers and ensure payment of their claims. Freedom of association, the right to collective bargaining are fundamental for workers and should be taken as a core in migration. Respect our rights to be organized. Allow us to have our own unions to negotiate. Allow us to regularize our status. Migrants are human beings who should enjoy social, cultural, and political rights like all of you and everyone else. There should be channels and support for us in redressing complaints and accessing justice. The recruitment process should be regulated and monitored. Ban recruitment agency fee. Ensure no death band-aids suffered by migrants. The ILO's general principles and operational guidelines on fair recruitment must be embedded into the GCM government's national action plans on migration governance. Ratify the relevant UN standards on migration. and the ILO Convention, the C-97 on Migration for Employment, and Convention 140 on Migrant Workers, C-189 on Domestic Workers, C-190 on Violence and Harassment. Majority of migrants in the Asia-Pacific are forced to leave their home countries because of poverty and unemployment. States should prioritize creation of decent work so that we are not forced to migrate out of necessity. Finally, I would like to highlight some very important and troubling. The large network of trade unions and civil society organizations to which I belong have participated in the GCM process from its beginning in the New York Declaration since 2015, right up to the adoption of the GCM in 2018 at the national, regional, and global level. Yet, at this review stage, we found ourselves marginalized, especially we migrants. We found the process of organizing this review to be non-inclusive and disrespectful, especially as we represent so many organizations and unions across the Asia-Pacific. Thus, with deep apologies, we regret to inform you that entire networks representing the voices of migrant workers, who is at the heart of the topic on which we are speaking today, will be withdrawing from the rest of this first Asia-Pacific Regional Review and the implementation of the GCM. As stakeholders, however, we continue to remain fully committed to the implementation of the GCM in all comprehensiveness, and we call on all member states and its stakeholders to do the same. We encourage that the future review process, including the IMRF, be deeply deliberated upon to ensure a process that is transparent, accountable, representative, and incorporates the views and participation of all stakeholders. A longer statement is to follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada. I'm sure we all appreciate the fact that the voice of migrants is included during the opening session of this meeting.